how much fat do you need on a ketogenic diet? Now, you've probably already heard that a ketogenic diet is a diet that's very low in carbohydrates. Right? It's a low-carb diet that gives you adequate protein, and fat is the energy source on keto. Remember, there are 3 macronutrients: protein, fat, carbohydrate. Protein is a required macro. We all have a minimum requirement for protein. I usually set protein for most people at about 1.5 up to 2.2 grams per kilogram of your lean body mass or your goal body weight. Right? So, when I'm coaching clients, what I usually do is I adjust the protein according to preference, needs, age, activity levels, and kind of according to like past preferences with protein as well, right? So if somebody's used to eating very, very little protein, when they start getting adequate protein, what usually happens is hunger drops significantly, right? So protein is the satiating macro. We need protein for many different physiological processes in the body, including hormone production. It's crucial for rebuilding and regenerating tissues, for immune system function. We all require minimum amounts of protein. So bare minimum on protein, usually for most people starting keto, I say bare minimum would be like 1.2 grams per kilogram of your goal body weight, right? But that's bare minimum. Usually recommend about 1.5 to 2.2 grams per kilogram lean body mass or your goal body weight. Goal body weight makes it a little bit easier to calculate. So you've got your protein intake set, right? A lot of people out there saying a ketogenic diet needs to be 80% fat. And while this might be true for a medical ketogenic diet in the medical literature from the 1930s when it was being used to treat refractory epilepsy, right? Epileptic kids who were having seizures and they require very, very high ketones. They required a very, very strict ketotic diet that was about 4-to-1 fat to protein ratio calorically, so it ended up about 80% to 90% fat calorically in the diet. And that could be very, very confusing for a lot of people as far as calculating how much fat to eat, but also in regards to your context. Right? Because let's be honest, how many people out there are doing a ketogenic diet for medical purposes? Probably far less than are doing it for fat loss purposes. Right? Most of the people that come to us for help, most of the people commenting on this video and watching this video are probably using a ketotic diet, a ketogenic diet, a low carbohydrate approach to get fat loss. Right? Many people are looking for cognitive benefits, and you get a balancing of brain chemistry. Your neurotransmitter production shifts to more GABA rather than glutamate, so it's much more soothing. Many people get reductions in anxiety. They just feel a general sense of well-being. But overall, most people doing keto are doing it for body composition purposes and for fat loss. So remember, fat is an energy macro, right? Protein's not for energy, but fat and carbs are. Now, fat is the fuel that you're going to be burning on a ketogenic diet. So carbs, of course, stay low in your macros. Usually recommend under like 30 grams net carbs, sometimes even lower, depending on the context. And fat's the energy source. So if you're trying to lose body fat, you're not necessarily going to need to obsess over the 80% fat ratio, right? Most people, when they're trying to lose body fat, once they get sufficient protein in, of course, all those protein sources are coming with good fats, right? You eat a ribeye steak. That's going to be mainly calorically fat, right? You eat bacon and eggs. These contain significant amounts of fat for energy. So, as far as how much fat you require on a ketogenic diet, that's going to depend on the context. If you're very lean and you're not trying to lose weight, then you're going to probably want to have at least 1 to 2, and that's a huge range, right? Up 1 to 2 grams of fat per gram of protein. Okay, so if you're just starting out keto, you're not used to eating a lot of fat, sometimes it's better to go for about 1 gram of fat per gram of protein. Right, so say you calculate your protein intake to be about 100 grams, that means go for about 100 grams of fat. That'll put you calorically actually at about 60% fat. The reason I'm not so concerned with the macronutrient ratios is because they're freaking irrelevant. Right? The macronutrient ratio is actually irrelevant. Let me tell you why. You want to look at it in terms of grams. Because if you're trying to lose body fat, you can be burning either fat that you put on the plate, fat that you ate, or fat from your body. So if we're trying to burn body fat, we need to eat less dietary fat. And if we're trying to burn body fat, it doesn't make sense to lower the protein with the fat. Protein is the satiating macronutrient. It's an unavoidably requisite macronutrient required for health, digestion, immune function, and rebuilding our tissues and regenerating the body, as well as making hormones. So you don't want to lower protein for fat loss. Protein is going to stay relatively fixed, and fat is going to change according to your goals. So if you're very lean and you're a highly active athlete, or if you're just starting out keto and you don't want to go into a huge deficit and force your body to burn a bunch of body fat, which can feel kind of stressful to the body, then you're going to be higher on the fat. Right? So when you first start out keto, it's better to go higher on the fat. Some people are just eating fat to satiety and they do very well. And then they dial in those macros once they get adapted. Right? Because when you adapt to that ketotic state, when you get keto adapted, you're very efficiently burning fat. Get very good at burning that fat, and you can burn the fat from your plate or from your body quite easily. But in the beginning, we don't want to try and force your body to just burn body fat by eating only lean protein, right? So fat intake depends on your goals. If you're trying to lose body fat, you need less dietary fat. If you're trying to gain weight, gain muscle, gain strength, you're going to require more dietary fat. If you're sedentary, you'll require less dietary fat than if you're training for an ultra marathon. All right, keto in context, something we've been talking about for years here. And it's very, very important to remember that. So if you're first starting out a ketogenic diet, make sure you get enough protein. Fat, usually starting out at about 1 gram of fat per gram of protein as a ballpark area, and then increasing or decreasing according to your needs and your goals is a good place to be. All right, so me, if I'm going to be weight stable and I'm not trying to lose body fat, I'll probably be at about 1.5 grams of fat per gram of protein per day. Right? For most people, that will be kind of an isocaloric diet, or calorically stable diet where you're not going to lose body fat or lose much weight. If I were to do 1 gram of fat per gram of protein, I might lean out a little bit. If I were to go up to 2 grams of fat per gram of protein, I would definitely maintain my weight or be in a surplus depending on how much food I'm eating. So I hope this helps. There's a lot of confusion out there. Our job is to make it as simple and straightforward as possible. You get enough protein. Fat's your energy source. You move that fat according to your goals. Less dietary fat means you burn more fat from the body. More dietary fat means you're not going to be burning that body fat. Then it's simple. All right, and these are the principles that we teach in our Keto and Carnivore Collective, which this is the last call. Tomorrow we're starting this month's Keto and Carnivore Collective. We might do a November session, but it's our group community coaching where we're able to handle the amount of clients that we get requests for private coaching in a group community setting, which offers a lot of benefits and is actually way better than private coaching in my opinion. You get more value, it's cheaper, and you get a community-based setting, and you get more meetings with us per month than if you're just doing, private consultations. So if you're interested in that, you can sign up in the link down below. Building a solid foundation of habits is what we're all about. Okay, so if you're trying to lose body fat, if you're starting out a ketogenic diet, the beginning stage is the most important. All right, understanding what you're doing it right, not getting caught up in all the muck of disinformation and confusing information and superfluous information. We're here to give you the straight up answers and give it to you in a simple, straightforward way, so you could actually do this long term. Right? Because short term diets are long term failures. We need to work on long term habit formation. Right? When I wake up in the morning, I know what I'm gonna eat for breakfast. Right? When I go to a restaurant, I know what I can order. I know to order a steak or fish. Or if I'm at a diner, I can get an omelet. I know the foods, I've got the food choices down. And I know how to navigate my kitchen. So there's another important part of adapting to keto is actually learning how to prepare keto foods, right? Learning how to prepare foods that'll hit your macros regularly so that you can lay those habits down so that in the future you don't have to think about it every time you're making a meal. That's why we made the Ketogenic Edge cookbook too. So Jessica, my wife, she spent about 1.5 years making the Ketogenic Edge cookbook. We call it the training manual, or low carb, ketogenic, and paleo cuisine. Because it's not just like a list of recipes. We actually teach you how to formulate your own well-formulated ketogenic diet and meals. All right, so there's a whole section showing you how to prepare meats. We got a whole section on eggs, a whole section on veggies. We even show you how to ferment certain vegetables to make them more bioavailable. But it's all simple heirloom recipes, all simple, basic, whole, unrefined foods recipes. No food porn, no junk. It's a good, solid foundation. So check out the book if you're looking to kind of master your keto kitchen, which is essential when we're starting a keto diet. Most of us don't know how to prepare food for ourselves anyways. Most of us have no idea how to nourish ourselves. So starting a ketogenic diet, starting a low carbohydrate approach, or even like some people are gravitating towards a carnivore diet, which I don't recommend for everybody, but I do think it's an interesting angle. And I do tend to eat a very carnivorous diet, very, very low in fiber and very low in plant material. It's after 5.5 years of ketogenic diet that I've realized that I don't really need the vegetables, but that's a tangent. We don't want to go too far down that one right now, but build a solid foundation of food prep habits. There's a whole section on how to cook organ meats in the book, which I find very, very nourishing, right? So these are some of the most prized parts of the animal that throughout history, and in every single apex predator, you see them going for first. Things like liver, heart, right? How to prepare these foods. I mean, you can even, a really good introductory way to getting into the organ meats is hiding them in certain recipes. So we show you how to make stuff like if you take Mama's Best Meatballs recipe from the book, and then you mix in like 50% beef heart, it's a really good way of getting in those fat-soluble vitamins and those nutrients. Like heart has more coenzyme Q10 than any other food that we know of. Now, these are very, very nourishing foods that you can learn how to prepare quite simply. Alright, so just learning the basics is important. Alright, get sufficient protein. Fat is your energy source and the carbs stay low. It's that simple. More fat on the plate means you burn less fat from the body. Less fat on the plate means you burn more fat from the body. Alright, so keep it simple, guys. Don't get all lost in the mire, lost in the muck, lost in the confusion. There's people out there repeating a lot of information about keto. Much of it not being very relevant to most people, and much of it just being straight up false. Check out little ribeye here. He's growing up. He's growing big. Alright guys, so I'll see you next time. Keep it simple. You can find more at primaledgehealth.com. Check out the book. There's a link down in the description. If you're interested in the Keto and Carnivore Collective for the next coming months, you can sign up down below. So get off social media. The diet is not everything. Way more than what you eat. The diet's there to support our life so that we can live a meaningful and productive existence. So enjoy your life, get off the social media, get off the computer, get off the dang cell phone, go talk to real people, go be with your friends and family, and go live.